We all know how far something like sampling can go in the hip-hop industry. Even if you didn't write the instrumental to your song, that doesn't mean you can't Frankenstein it into something even more impressive somewhere down the line. There's a line between sampling and stealing, though. And we've got a pretty hot case on our hands here with Tory Lanez and Cassidy. The internet has been stirred up about Lanez dropping some bars during a freestyle, which was going over a beat from Cassidy. Usually something like this is meant as a bit of an homage or even a tribute to those who came before. So how did Tory decide to pay tribute to Cassidy? Not a damn thing. He straight up just used his beat without as much as mentioning him by name. Say what you want about sampling, but it's no secret that Cassidy would be offended by someone just jacking his beat without his permission. After some initial silence, we had Cassidy releasing the diss track, Perjury, which went in hard on Tory for stealing his stuff. It's not like he's trying to hide behind his music either. When promoting his single, Cassidy didn't shy away from bringing up the freestyle directly, saying that there was no way that Lanez didn't just rip him off. Even the flow that Tory had was a bit similar to Cassidy. So why the hell would you even try to hide the fact that you're stealing? Hell, it's so similar at some points that I'm not sure that I wouldn't just call Tory's freestyle a cover of Cassidy's track. That's before you can even get into the lyrics behind Perjury, which has a lot more going on than just calling out Tory for being a thief. You also get to hear a little bit of hip-hop wisdom from Cassidy, warning Tory not to try and step to the legends of the game by just trying to outright copy them. As fierce as some of these bars can be, you can also tell that there's a slight bit of ageism happening here. I mean, the line about selling records before the game went digital will probably go down in history as not the greatest line. That's basically the equivalent of rappers deciding to diss their competition by going all, when I was your age on them. We get it, Grandpa. But we can talk about what's happening these days. There are also a few strange mud-slinging shots thrown at Canada, warning Tory that he better watch his back even with his free healthcare. Seriously, bro? Even if you're anti-Canada for some reason, you can't just blame someone for their mediocre skills just because they're Canadian. If that were the case, hip-hop probably would have laughed Drake out of the room before he even got his career off the ground. It's not just Cassidy who was feeling some kind of way about his bars being stolen, though. Before Lanez could even respond, Royce the 5'9" managed to double down on him, calling for Tory to attempt to step up and thinking that he'd fall flat on his face. Unfortunately, it looked like Tory came prepared to battle on his next track, When It's Dark freestyle. As it turns out, a guy like Tory Lanez isn't going to take too kindly to someone stepping on his flow. Who knew? Outside of literally everyone in the hip-hop sphere. Compared to what Cassidy called stealing, When It's Dark is probably the most energetic that Tory has sounded in ages, going in for the kill as he mentions Cassidy's connections with R. Kelly from back in the day. A bit of a low blow, but hey, that's what this kind of thing is about, right? The disses are anything but subtle here too, with most of the lines referring to the casket that Cassidy's career is in and how he hasn't done anything worthwhile in years. Woo, that's strong words for a guy who hasn't had that much time in the spotlight, but it seems to be hard words regardless. That's just one person's opinion though. Once this actually dropped, the hip-hop community nearly broke the internet trying to make sense of it all, with everyone making memes out of it almost immediately. It makes sense though, right? This is exactly the kind of tame beef that doesn't necessarily leave you worried for your life, but just makes for people making passing comments at the water cooler. But like all good diss tracks, you have to have the lines drawn between the fan bases too. For as many people have been losing their minds, there's also going to be the stands of both artists coming to defend their precious musical gods and say they annihilated their competition. But seriously, if you guys think that Cassidy came out with the W here, you are sorely mistaken. Now, before anyone crucifies me for that, let's just take a look at where both these guys are at this point in their career. Cassidy was coming off of not being relevant at all for the last few years, and he thought that the best way to make his great comeback was to start beef with one of the new kids. Bruh, you need to actually make sure that you have the bars to pull something like this off before you dive in. Otherwise, you're gonna get so outclassed by who you just beat down. Cause this Tory Lanez song is good, like among one of the best tracks he's made in years. As much drama as he's had in the past few years, it feels like Tory took every last bit of spite and pointed it toward Cassidy here. Whereas Cassidy may have sounded old and tired from being in the game too long, this is the sound of a dude who's still young and hungry and willing to go down swinging, even if it means tearing down the hip-hop giants that came before him. That doesn't mean that every single line necessarily goes off without a hitch, though. There are some sick bars here to be sure, but that R. Kelly one isn't necessarily one of the most memorable things he'll ever write. Considering the kind of stuff that Tory Lanez got into just a few years ago with Meg Thee Stallion, my guy has no right to be talking about other people hanging out with scumbags. At the same time, this is far from being the greatest diss track ever made. First of all, the whole thing just seems kind of petty as hell. That's no surprise though. I mean, all diss tracks are supposed to be a little petty. Then again, this is the kind of beef that isn't going to be put on the same pedestal as something like Hit 'Em Up by Tupac. The reason why this works though is that our guy here is actually coming at Cassidy from a position of strength and is actually in his element to make bars like this. To any older rappers who might be listening to this, you had better be taking notes. If you don't put yourself through your paces, you're gonna look like a damn fool whenever you step up to the mic to drop bars. Then again, it's not like perjury. It isn't an awful track by any stretch of the imagination. I mean, on the surface, it has a pretty decent beat, and Cassidy is still on point with his flow. It's just that it feels, how do I put this, safe. Like, this is a song about going in hard on your competition, but the actual construction of the song doesn't feel like he's all that angry. It might be scary, but it comes out the other side looking almost cute by comparison. It's not like When It's Dark is the darkest song of all time either. As far as hip-hop is concerned, this is nowhere near the dark bars that you find from people like early Eminem or even Clippin' nowadays. This is just a rapper at the top of his game and unwilling to let anyone stand in the way of his success. Also, kudos to Tory for switching up his flow during this one, almost directly contradicting the copycat story. Think about that though. One guy tells him that he's using the same flow over and over again, and his diss track switches up the flow and proves him wrong, whether or not you even like his music. That's one of the most baller moves that you're ever gonna see in hip-hop. Compared to whatever Cassidy just spilt, this could be on par with something like Eminem's Kill Shot, demolishing Machine Gun Kelly out the genre. It's not necessarily a career killer for Cassidy or anything, but it's gonna be hard for him to get his feet back on the ground after taking an L as big as this. Now comes the scary part. We actually have to start paying attention to Tory Lanez again. Just when we thought we could collectively just, forget about him after his dramatic antics, he comes back with a song that actually makes him relevant in the conversation again. Hell, if he keeps going down this road, this might just be the beginning of the nastier side of him. While most of Tory's tracks have already been a bit rough around the edges, we may be looking at a new phase in his career when it comes back with a new project. That's what all the greats do though, right? You had Jay, living large as a millionaire for a while, then he came out with the Black Album and made everyone start paying attention. Kanye has pulled this kind of thing off multiple times. I mean, considering the drama that he was set up against at the time, My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy just feels like he hit the reset button on his entire career. We might be getting the same vibes from Tory here. Even though he's made his fair share of mistakes in the past, it looks like he's taking some time off and is ready to either fade into the background or come roaring back to life again. We're gonna have to see where it goes from here, but this one nugget of anger at least shows us that he's heading in the right direction. Take your time, Tory, but if the rest of the record is gonna sound like this, by all means, keep up the good work. But that's all we have to go on for right now. And what do y'all think about the Tory Lanez and Cassidy diss tracks? Is Cassidy right to judge Tory for stealing his beats? Are we about to see Tory pull off some epic comeback story? And also, is Royce Hyde not ashamed for actually going to bat for Cassidy's side of the story? Be sure to leave your thoughts in the comments and let everybody know. Other than that, be sure to like and subscribe right here at RIZZLE so you don't miss out on the juiciest beefs in the world of hip-hop. Take it easy. And remember, keep it RIZZLE.